I do get accused of being really bad at this part. I've got some feedback recently about how bad I am at this part. But tonight is number 100 out of 260 Facebook Live sessions that Rob and I are doing for you guys in 2017. So this is the 100th one that we've done, which is quite cool. Sorry, my phone's just giving me a low power. So that's awesome. 100 Facebook Lives. I think it's good when you hit those milestones, just to remind yourselves what you're doing, and hopefully you're actually making a difference. So tonight you have me. Rob is suffering from jet lag, so he spoke to me earlier tonight and said, please, can you do it? And ladies and gents, I have to be honest, straight after this I am going straight to bed as well, because I am broken at the moment, very, very tired. But the joys of doing what we do, working incredibly hard, juggling lots of stuff, and trying to smile at the same time. So as soon as I'm done, I am in bed. But this is number 100. Very exciting as well. Today I reviewed some of our potential front covers of our next book, which is really, really cool. And another conversation with somebody who is very interested in working with us on Green Light Accelerator, which is also very, very exciting, and some very good potential conversations that's going to happen on Friday for working with new clients. So all in all, a pretty productive day. Talking about book, please download our book and give us your thoughts and feelings. It's cool to look every now and again. I look at Amazon and you see one or two of the reviews it's getting, and it gives you that little impetus. Sometimes you need that little affirmation and confirmation from other people that what you're saying and what you're doing is actually making a difference in other people's lives. So thank you very much for those reviews. We really, really appreciate it. Tonight I actually had a couple of topics to talk about. I'm going to talk about one. I'm going to save another topic for another night. And I want to talk about who are your customers. The reason I want to talk about this is last night, or yesterday late afternoon, I took my boy. Some of you who've watched this before know I've got a 7-year-old boy. And he had a few activities on Monday late afternoon, early evening, which I took him to. One of which was karate, and it was the first time I've been to watch him do karate, and I found it fascinating. I think sometimes it's one of the bane's not the right word, but one of the challenges in terms of the work that Rob and I do is, especially me, I find it difficult to turn my brain off and just sometimes I'm present, but just switch off the brain. But I was watching the sensei, and he had 3 kids in the class. So my boy's 7. I'm assuming the other kid was 9 or 10, and the other one was probably 7 or 8 as well. So that was his audience. That was the sensei's audience. The sensei's audience was a white belt, my boy who started. And the 10-year-old who was a blue belt, and excuse my ignorance, but I'm not too sure in terms of the belts and how they go. All I know is black's quite good. But that, again, so you've got 7 to a 9 or 10-year-old, and you've got a beginner through to a blue belt, which I'm assuming is middle starting. And it was one of the questions I had as I was observing the hour-long karate session is does he understand his audience? And the reason I say that is he was giving all these instructions. And to be honest, as a 30-year-old, watching and listening, I was confused. I was confused by what he was asking the kids to do. I was confused in the way that he was trying to articulate his message to the kids. And it really had an impact on the class. It had an impact on the class because my boy was not focused. He wasn't concentrating on what he was trying to do. He was actually looking at the other kids to try and work out what he was supposed to do because he didn't quite understand until he started asking some questions. And it just sort of made me think about him as a coach. And that's one thing I really enjoy going to watch my boy do all the activities, and it's quite scary, and you pause and think about all the stuff he does, because you actually get to observe different coaches in action. And to be honest, for me, it's very, very obvious which are the coaches who have children and which are the coaches who don't have children. It's very obvious in terms of which are the coaches who only coach children, which are the coaches who do children and adults. And the reason I say it's obvious is because the coaches who have children, who only do children, you can see they adapt their language, their mechanisms, their style of instruction so children understand. They use language that makes it simple for kids. So when they talk about movement and stuff like that, they're using hip hop, they're using, you've all seen Justin Bieber on the dance, How Does He Move Your Hips? They're using pictures and scenarios that actually kids understand and get, and they can picture. And we all know that it's much easier to visualize something and then act on it than try and break it down and really understand what people are meaning and trying to interpret it meaning in terms of actions that you're trying to do. Whereas if you can say, I want you to visualize Michael Jackson doing a moonwalk. Now, if you see Michael Jackson doing a moonwalk, we're all seeing exactly the same thing. There's no discrepancies. We all know what he's doing and how he's doing it. So we're all going to try and replicate the same thing because we're using a language and we're using an image that we all know. And that was what's fascinating about this karate instructor last night. He really struggled to convey his message in a way that a 7, 8 and 10-year-old understood. And you could see him getting frustrated, and more importantly, you could see the kids getting frustrated. And it was only until, by complete luck, that he looked at the floor and it had those carpet tiles, and he started talking about A, B's and C's. And he started talking to the kids about when you do your turn, put your left foot in A and your right foot in C. And then he, in sort of almost surprised, he was like, wow, this A to C is actually working. And that sort of A concerns me. But B makes me think about how often do we come to a situation where we have a message that we want to portray, and we have the message articulated in a way that we understand. So I'm pretty sure that he's a very good karate instructor, and I'm pretty sure maybe for adults he's not too good. But it was just fascinating to see, and that's why I said, and Sam, 100% agree with you, it is the difference between a good and a bad teacher. It's the ability to understand your audience and converse your message in a way that your audience understands. Not in a way that makes you sound clever or in a way that you think it needs to be spoken. And again, if you think about your product in your business, is your product speaking in the language that your customers understand, or is it speaking in a language that you understand when you design the product? And that's why it's always a great way to test your assumptions, is to get somebody who hasn't been part of it, has no idea of your product, and ask them to describe it. Give it to them and say, what do you see? What do you think this is for? Give them your marketing and going, what appeals to you? What is this telling you? Because we all have our blind spots. There's Hogan does some great assessment on the bright side and the dark side. And the bright side are the things that we're more aware of. The dark side are the things that could trip us up in the future, not because we do things on purpose, just because we're not aware of stuff. And I don't believe this sensei is a bad person. I just think no one sat down with him or explained to him, this is how you speak to a child. This is how you converse a message. You've got to paint pictures, you've got to tell stories, you've got to use language that they understand. He was using words such as credibility, potential, all this stuff. And my boy, I was very proud of him, goes, sorry sensei, what does potential mean? So it's always an interesting thing if your audience is asking you questions to clarify what language and what statements you are making. It should send alarm bells that maybe you're conveying a message in a way that they don't understand. So I'd like you to look at your products, I'd like you to look at your propositions, I'd like you to look at your audience, and I'd like you to really challenge yourself to say, am I conversing in a way that they understand or in a way that I'm most comfortable? So it's and it was an interesting thing I'm talking to my boy about at the moment, around the concept of, it's not your ability that sets you apart. It's the choices that you make that will differentiate you. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you have a fantastic day, evening. Like I said, I am going to pack, so I've got another blooming flight tomorrow, day trip to Johannesburg tomorrow. So I just go and pack for work tomorrow, and my early flight to Joburg, do school lunches, get my kids' clothes and stuff. The stuff that all us parents are, if you're parents and you're watching this, you're probably smiling now because you have to do the same thing. So I will speak to you soon. I wish you a fantastic evening, and remember, the choices that you make will set you apart. Bye-bye.